Hello, now we've got it. Yeah. Hi, everybody. MJ here. Listen, it's been a while since we did anything from the studio here. I've been set up more for audio than for anything else, but I want to say hi to everyone. Let's go ahead and roll the show opener and see what happens. I don't even know if it still works.
Are we already started? Oh, I'm right on time to watch Taiwan live TV!
Hey, how's it going, you guys? Hey, Rob. Hey, Matthew. How you doing? Wow, I don't show any viewers. It's strange, but and it didn't show up in the chat window, but I see it on the chat stream. I want to say hi, everyone. It's been quite a while since I've actually broadcast. Excuse me. From the broadcast studio, I've got the beautiful 3-meter long, green screen behind me and everything, and we're set up, and you can't really see it. It's I've got my large diaphragm condenser mic here, but I've been concentrating on doing tracks for a new album. And the other day Casper came up to visit, and he was telling me that he really liked what I was doing, and that should probably do a little bit of a demo, for all the friends of the show. Let them know what I'm doing. So I don't know why I don't see. Let me see. I'm gonna refresh this. I don't know why. Gosh, this is crazy. Yeah. Anyway, well, I'll be able to see the comments, as they burn on the stream. Now, before I go any further, up here in the corner is, hey, bud, how you doing? Up here in the corner is our sponsor, iVideo.com. Now, what they've done is they have given me a new device. It is, in fact, a battery bank and a Wi-Fi box built into one unit, and it's absolutely fantastic. I like the other one, the Huawei one, and I actually own one of those myself. The battery lasts about 5 hours, and it's not enough. Last year, when I went to the States for a few days, they gave me one by T-Mobile, and the T-Mobile one had like a 20-hour battery, and it was like, oh, I just let that thing run all the time, man. I just plugged it in when I went to sleep, and it ran all day. So this one here is a battery bank, and it is, in fact, a Wi-Fi box built into one. That's the one that I recommend you get, and it's not that much more expensive. Now, for those of you who are watching the YouTube stream, if you go down in the description, you'll find a Google URL, and that'll bring you to the iVideo.com.tw's ordering page, and there's also a 10% discount code. And the thing is, they've got stuff from, I don't know how many countries they got. It's a bunch all over Europe and all over Asia. So not just, for Taiwan, or if you're going to go to Japan, pretty much anywhere you go. And the cool part about it is it's so cheap that even people who live in Taiwan and can get a contract end up using iVideo.com because it's so much cheaper. So yeah, I just, I don't know why. This is crazy. I haven't run Slobs, SLOBS, that's Streamlabs OBS, in a long time. Let me say this. Not too happy with Streamlabs. Their mobile app is unbelievable, and I use it a lot. You guys see all my mobile streams. Their version of OBS has been broken for almost 3/4 of a year. The monitor doesn't work. That means every multimedia file that I play back, I can't hear. It doesn't work because it doesn't make it to the PC bus. And I use a USB interface. It should be working. It was working before it upgraded, stopped working. Right now the chat's not working, but I see the chat on the chat box, which shows that it's making it to the Streamlabs server. So who knows? Anyway, it's not that I really need it, except if I miss a comment, then I need it. And it always stays on the screen. It stays persistent. And it shows I have 0 viewers, which is ridiculous. Anyway, got my rum here. We are simultaneously broadcasting on Periscope, YouTube, and Africa TV. So I want to welcome all of our viewers around the world, and I want to thank you for joining. Now, here's what I've been doing. I have over here on my side a 32-channel analog mixing desk that has unbelievable microphone preamps and sweepable EQs and all kinds of stuff. And I'm not actually using it as a mixing desk. I'm not actually using it to cut tracks or anything like that. I'm using it for the microphone preamps, and I'm using it for the equalization and also the analog warmth. Now, you've heard me talk about this before, how analog circuitry adds warmth to music. But we live in a digital world now. Excuse me, this is live TV. And, everything's for download and even on compact discs and so forth. And, yeah, I realize that, and I am recording on digital. But I try to combine the best of both worlds. I don't like DAWs, digital audio workstations, because I don't like mixing with a mouse. The computer interface, it works great. See, I don't want an audio workstation. I want a music workstation. I want a workstation that's designed for making music. And one of the things that you have to do is you have to lay tracks, and it has to be fast. And I just can't stand waiting for things. Now, here's the thing. Let me explain a little bit. In audio, everything has been known for 100 years. We've just gotten better at it. So, a bus is a bus, auxiliary buses, send effects buses, EQ, trim pots, faders, assignments, all those things are standard terms. So a guy like me, 63 years old, I can walk into any studio in the world, look at the console, and I probably have already worked on one of them, but on the rare occasion where I find something that I'm not that familiar with, I can look at the channel strip and I can say, okay, okay, I got it. Excuse me. You can't do that with the software world because everybody does everything differently. If you're using, I do have Cakewalk Sonar installed, and they talk about things like automation lanes. I never heard of an automation lane, and I've probably done 50 albums, probably done 500 mixes. So yeah, it's somebody's idea of taking a recording studio and putting it into a box. That's not bad. I'm just saying that it's so alien and different. So I'm kind of a dinosaur, and I recognize that. But there are people, if you go to the YouTube channel, White Sea Studios, there's a young man who actually, he's quite good. He's a good engineer, and I've been watching a lot of his videos, and he talks about analog and digital hybrids, and he's got a 16-channel Neve console, or excuse me, is it a Neve? No, anyway, he's got a 16-channel analog console, and he's using that with his DAW, and it's fantastic. What I'm using is a Tascam DP32. It is an older, what they call a Porta Studio. It's 32 tracks of digital audio. I can record at 24-bit, 48 kilohertz. Some would say it's not high enough, should be 96 or even higher. But it is what it is. And there are some built-in effects. But what it prevents you from doing is polishing turds. What it comes down to is it's got a transport, you know, like a regular tape machine, rewind, fast forward, things like that. But you don't spend as much time analyzing the waveform and trying to correct mistakes. On the Tascam forum, I was talking to a gentleman, and you know, he was telling me how he had to use his DAW to correct, you know, some notes that the singer had sung that weren't in tune. And I just said, well, why don't you just roll it back and have him do another take and sing it properly? I mean, this is how we used to make records. I mean, can you imagine, you know, Smokey Robinson on auto-tune? I don't think so. But what happens now is that all these records have the same kind of robotic, ethereal, but fake sound to them, and it bothers me, and it bothers me a lot. In the old days on analog tape, I mean, you got the take or you didn't. And if you couldn't get it, then you left the studio. And it wasn't like a guy spent 4 hours cutting and pasting and patching things together. So I'm going to say this. I think maybe the quality, you know, that we're seeing in the performances probably isn't all that good. Now, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that, you know, what I'm doing is pristine. What I'm telling you is if I make a mistake, I evaluate it. If I think it's bad enough to redo, I'll redo it. And if I think it doesn't matter, I'll leave it. Because I want that kind of feeling to the music. I don't want it to sound like it was done by a computer. Now, let me do this. This is the side camera here. Let me push my mic out of the way a little bit here. And you can see the computer here is on the wall mount. That's the broadcasting software. Now, I apologize for the resolution. The resolution on this camera isn't quite as good. But this is the DP32. It's a very small format device, but it is, like I said, a 32-track digital recorder. It has effects and dynamics built into it, so I don't have to use a computer unless I want to. Now, I'm looking over this way because I'm trying to see if there's any comments. But let me explain something about my philosophy. This is a drum machine over here. Everything is connected through MIDI. There's a MIDI box over here. I know my desk is a little bit of a mess, but it's a working desk. You know, it's not a show desk. This is the older DP32, which has MIDI. And MIDI is used to control the synchronization of all the other devices, including under here. I have a keyboard here that slides out. And so I've got a keyboard workstation there. Now, I do drums last. What I usually do is I'll write a little bit of an introduction for a tune, and I'll program maybe the intro, but then after that I just loop, and I'm just doing looping. Now, the looping is not going to be the final drum track. I never program the final drum track until everything else is done. And the reason that I do that is because years ago, at the very last minute, the night before I was going to mix Gotta Keep Dancing, which you can find a copy of on mjk.asia, I had the drummer play the tracks again because I realized that we should have done something a little bit different. And back in those days in 24 tracks, we didn't have virtual tracks. I mean, 24 was all I had, and it was pretty full. I didn't have an extra 8 tracks to do another set of drums. So I said, well, we're going to have to blow these away. You're going to have to play it again. And he said, no problem. And he did a bang-up job, first pass. It was incredible. But the thing is, is he played around vocal parts and guitar parts and things that did not exist when we did what we call the vocal bed. You see, when let's go to Win-Wins for a second, and we'll see what. Yeah, okay. Usually, you lay down what's called a bed. It'll be drums, bass, and piano, or drums, bass, and guitar. Somebody may sing a guide track, or somebody may actually just like yell first verse, into a mic setup on a separate track. But usually, whatever the drums are that are cut on the bed is it, and they don't go back and do much to that. Now that works for bands where you've had a chance to rehearse things over and over, and you're just going in and recreating things that you maybe wrote on the road and you've already played live several times. But for a solo artist like me that relies mostly on overdubbing, where I would just layer things on top, it doesn't really work. So that's why I do drums last. So what you're going to hear is not finished drums. You're just going to hear maybe an intro and some loops. So I just want you to know that's what's going on. So anyway, talking with Casper this week, he said I should. He said that I should talk. Said that I should introduce a couple of these things. I want to let you know a little bit of what I'm doing. There are no vocals, and the lead guitar parts are not done. These are basically halfway finished tracks to give you an idea what they sound like. But I'll show you what it can do. So let's go back to this shot here, and yeah, for those of you guys who are using 128 tracks on Reaper or something, you're gonna laugh, but I'm old school. Now I've just got drums on 2 tracks, and this is the dry drum track without any reverb on it. Okay, now let's put the reverb back on. And we got a bass track too. And usually what you do is when you're doing a mix, you normally will set the drum level nominally and then add like and then you'll add the bass to it, right? Now this is just the keyboard bass. My friend Tony Vaughn is actually going to play he's an incredible bass player. He's going to play an incredible bass track for me. Now this is the chorus, and we're going to go back to the verse. There's an arpeggiator on a synthesizer. Let's go back to the top and let's try to build this track a little bit now. This track starts it starts with flanged guitars. Let me just show you what the flanged guitars sound like. What I did was I never record 1 or 2 tracks of guitars. I always record like tons. This is actually 6 tracks in what we call a submix. A more modern term is a stem. I think that came from the motion picture industry. But I have 2 tracks left, 2 tracks right, doing chords, and then I have 1 track left doing a line and another track right doing a line. They all have a flanger on them, but with each take and each pass I adjusted either the speed is in hertz or the depth, so it sounds, each pass sounds different. This is what the flange guitar sounds like. Now the flange guitar sounds a little bit detuned. I'm not sure if I'm going to keep it. It is detuned, and I realized it's detuned. I haven't decided if I can cut this. I can cut these guitars again in 30 minutes. It doesn't make any difference. But this is what it sounds like with the keyboard behind it. It's a little bit detuned, and then I'll bring the bass in. So then the keyboards comes in right now. 2, 3. And that's the bass. So it's not too bad out of tune. So let me try to build this mix a little bit for you and show you a little bit what it sounds like. Okay, so here's the intro. I'm looking for comments. I got a big fat grind guitar in here. Check this out. Now, right at that section, there's a complete scene change. So what we have to do is we have to back up and we have to reset up for this scene change. And what we're going to do is we're going to mute this track and all right, let's set this up. I got a nice drone guitar. Let me show you what the drone guitar sounds like because I recorded that. It's actually a no-no nowadays with, you know, unlimited tracks on DAWs, but I've been a record producer most of my life and I know what I want, and so if I know what I want, I will record a track with the appropriate effects on it the way that I want it. Let's see where we are here so I can solo this. It's this guitar. And you hear the effects die down and they're in stereo back and forth. Put it back in the mix. All right, so let's run it back to the top and I think we're ready to do kind of just almost a fake mix for you. And all right, here's what it sounds like. Sorry. There's a lot going on in the stereo image too in the background, just to make it interesting. You notice that the energy does not drop there. It's not supposed to. It's supposed to be a scene change. And on double verses or double choruses, you have to do something different. So here comes the big guitars. All right, that's all I'm going to play of this tune because I am working on other sections and it's almost finished. I'm going to be able to do the vocals, I think, in about another 3 weeks. Let's load one more tune. And this is, by the way, that one was called New World. And let me load another one called Do You Believe Me? And this is really, it's reminiscent of a lot of songs from the 60s, the way this one is put together. What I did was, I've got a very clean, kind of almost 12-string sounding track assembly that I did, a submix or stems if you want, and it consists of 6 guitars again, 3 left and 3 right. There are 2 left playing chords, 2 right playing chords, and 1 left and right playing, excuse me, I'm burping, a line. This is what the guitars sound like. Now I want you to listen to this because I have processed these with multi-band compression and they breathe. It's not like, I want you to listen to this because it doesn't sound like a guy sitting in front of a mic strumming a guitar. There's a sound to it, and we call it, you know, it sounds like a record. You know, when we're talking about this in the studio, hey, does it sound like a record? This is what the guitars sound like. There's movement there. It's a breathing kind of sound, almost like it's spinning around. You can't get that sound unless you double the tracks and play with the modulation and so forth. And in other words, if you don't know what you're doing. Now, again, I've just got a drum loop on this. Let me show you what this sounds like. I'm not a bass player. I mean, I know the notes. I'm a guitar player. I just, you know, got a bass hanging on the wall. I threw a bass track on. My friend Tony Vaughn is going to play bass on this too. But this is what this sounds like with just bass drums and guitars. Let me see if let me bring the drums up here. These are on track 2930. Let me see. Again, these drums are just a loop. As we come up to the chorus, we're going to bring some keyboards in. That's one sound. Going back to the top of the tune. Then we've got a comp guitar coming in here. Not mixed at all, but it's starting to sound like a record. Especially if we add some vocals, which I'm not going to do right now. So the second verse, we have to raise the energy level. So how do you do that? Like this. So this is the bridge, it goes back into the rest. It goes back into, excuse me, another chorus and then the hook and the outro. Now, I did something on this tune just because I could. Regular viewers of my late night shows and everything I've done, they know, you guys know that I'm a huge Queen fan, and on sitting, on the wall, I've got a Queen guitar, the Red Special. I've got a Brian May special amp. Yeah, I use coins, the whole thing. I did, just to see what it would sound like, I actually did a section of, how many guitars was it? It was, gosh, I think it was 6 or 7. I did an ensemble of Queen guitars, Queen sounding guitars, to see what it sounded like, as opposed to using like horns and things. Because back in the early days, if you remember the early Queen records, they always said no synthesizers. It was Brian May using the D-key amp doing harmonies. Let me see if I can find the section here. Yeah, here we go. This is it. Let me solo this. Now, I don't know if I'm actually going to use that. I did that for fun, but let me leave that like it is. Let me leave that in the mix. I'm going to bring everything else up, and let's hear what it sounds like. Now, one thing we didn't do was we didn't bring in our heavy guitars on that section. So let's try it one more time, and we'll let's see. That is, yeah, here we go. Oh, sorry. Up to here. Pretty thick. The problem is with whatever you do for mixing, everything is competing for a small window, 2 or 3 dB to come out front and grab your attention. But anyway, so I just wanted to chat for a few minutes, and it looks like we don't have too many comments, but that's okay. I just want to chat for a few minutes and let you guys know what I'm doing in some of the tracks. And even though you don't have to use the latest and greatest software tools and so forth to get good sounds. It comes down to basically, do you know how to get sounds? And having done it, as a profession for many years, the answer is yes. So that's what we're doing. Anyway, I usually stream on Sunday night and also on Thursday night. So this is our Sunday night stream. It's terrible weather out here in Taiwan. Just absolutely terrible. I was thinking about going down to Wen-Wen's and doing another food show, but hey, don't have to do that. Don't have to do that every week. But let me go ahead and sign off. We got to get out of here, and I got more work to do. So that's what I'm going to be doing tonight is more studio work. But I want to thank everyone for joining, and we'll probably see you on Thursday. Take care now. I'm not going to play the show closer because I need to update it. But you guys take care. Thank you so much for joining, and we'll see you. We'll say it's Zaijian and Wan An. Goodbye. See you next time from Taiwan. Have a good day, morning, afternoon, wherever you are. Thank you so much for joining. Take care. Bye-bye.